Norton GPS inside of the Norton Smartwork course for Principles of Economics is an adaptive learning tool. Three things to keep in mind about GPS. One, it's meant to be a pre-lecture study tool that you can assign students before they come to class. Two, it's what we call adaptive content. So students are going to receive personalized content based on their performance on different learning objectives. And three, that leads to different remediation. Students are receiving help on the objectives they need extra practice with and are moving on when they're ready to move on to the next learning objective. So here's Norton GPS for Chapter 3, Supply and Demand. And a student is going to click on the first learning milestone. Essentially, learning milestones are the learning objectives at the beginning of each chapter. For each learning milestone, a student is going to take a quick 3-question quiz. So here's the quiz for learning milestone 3.1. If a student does really well on this quiz, on this learning milestone, he or she will quickly move on to the next learning objective. But if this student struggles on this particular learning milestone, which this student is doing here, that's proof that this student needs a little more help on that learning objective. So as you're going to see, this student is going to record his or her grade. They didn't do very well, so they're going to get additional study tools, additional content remediation to review before moving on. For example, a student might get a link to reread or read for the first time that chapter section in the ebook. So it's a reminder that to master this material, you really need to engage with it in your textbook. Reviewing a little bit more of the ebook, this student will then be moved on to a different learning tool or learning aid. They might get an office hour video that reviews the topics covered in this learning objective. This is our author Dirk Mateer talking about a shift versus a movement on the demand curve. So they're going to get a short video. They may get one more learning tool as well. This student gets a concept review that it's basically a matching exercise covering the key vocabulary relevant to this learning objective. So the student is going to move now, click Start Now, and this student is going to get a little matching exercise here that will remind them of the vocabulary they need to master this learning objective. After completing the 3 study tools or whatever set of study tools a student gets, this student will then retake that 3-question quiz on that learning objective. Ideally, they'll ace that quiz, and then they will move on to the next learning milestone or learning objective from that chapter. The idea is that every student is different. When a student needs help in Norton GPS, they're going to receive that help. They're going to receive some extra review. If they're ready to move on to the next learning objective, they'll do that very quickly. So that's Norton GPS.